Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host. And this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. Now, a few days ago, I showed a handful of comics. They were Weird Science title reprints of from the classic 50s EC Comics days. And they had some great art and great science fiction stories. But Weird Science was not alone. It had a companion title, and from what I understand, originally they were each bi-monthly, so there'd be one science fiction title would come out every month, and this was and the companion was Weird Fantasy, and I don't have nearly as many of those. And then finally had to cut back, and the two titles were merged into one as Weird Science Fantasy. I have some of those here. Oh, and they're all such great stuff. It's just a shame. It's just a shame that this type of science fiction comics just are not available anymore. And the couple of attempts that have seen, like from I can't even remember the name of the publisher that is using the EC brand for their own titles, has been very lacking in both their horror and science fiction. Although their version, their science fiction title was better than their horror one, but not. But these, of course, these are reprints. I think it was Gladstone and through Russ Cochran. Stuff in the 90s, with one exception. And but I can't. Unfortunately, I have never been able to afford any of the original, and I don't even know if I've ever even seen any of them, of the original EC issues from the 1950s. Now, the funny thing is, though, that it has been just as long now since these were published as it was. Just as much time has passed since these were published as there had been since the original comics to the time that these had been published. So these are now as old as the original ones were at that time, at the time of republication. Of course, the EC books have been reprinted, republished so many times, various times. But I really like that for a while it was reprinted in the regular floppy stuff instead of just the although I like the trade paperback reprints as well, both the science fiction and the horror titles, as well as the other stuff. Okay, I just have a few of these here, and here we have Weird Fantasy number 3. Of course, these don't correspond to the original numbering system, because their numbering system was funny by our standards. Because take a trip in science fiction. Your destination is the moon. And this is an Al Feldstein cover. And Al Feldstein, of course, did a lot of the science fiction covers, as well as some of the interior art sometimes. So there's a Martian infiltration. See, here is Al Feldstein art. But he wasn't alone. Here was Harvey Kurtzman, but he wasn't as much science fiction. He did some of the war adventure and the humor stuff. Jack Kamen. He did some wonderful stuff, and of course the ever-present Wally Wood. This is marvelous Wally Wood stuff. So that is the issue 3. Here is issue number 9. It's of course, incredible science fiction story. Still an Al Feldstein's cover. And they're mostly Al Feldstein covers. And then, we start off, with the great Wally Wood, Spawn of Mars. Wally Wood, it looks like it's, just from the style, it looks like this might have been, I can't be sure, it looks like it might have been inked by Al Williamson, but I wouldn't go that far to say, but the inking style is just a little bit different, and some of the shading is not quite the same, but it's hard to tell. May very well be. Maybe I'm all wet. The duplicates, some robot-y stuff. Jack Kamen, of course, did some wonderful stuff for lovely ladies. The Connection. Oh, yeah. Number 9. Here is issue number 12. And still Al Feldstein on the cover. We have some Project Survival. Wally Wood. Yeah. And A Lesson in Anatomy. Jack Kamen. All frequent. The Dias Cast. It's Wally Wood again. Some lovely stuff. And then, but this is one that is a little different. In at least the copy is. It's Weird Fantasy number 13. Al Feldstein cover, but you might notice this has a $1 cover price, which was expensive at that time, because this is the oldest issue of an EC comic that I've got. And this is from 1973. And it has in this issue on the back, no ads for the collections. Even has EC artist of issue Al Feldstein. Oh yeah, right. And it Wally Wood art on the lead story. Some wonderful stuff. Jack Kamen again, and then I think we go to another Wally Wood story, and I think it finishes up with no, it's not. I thought it had Al Williamson. Oh yeah, that's Al Williamson story. Oh, he's so good. He's wonderful. And then that's the end of the Weird Fantasy, because this is when they consolidated the two titles into first fantastic issue of Weird Science Fantasy. And here is one of the wonderful Wally Wood covers. The Children, with Wally Wood interior art. And is this one? Yeah, this looks like Al Williamson on this one. It's mostly Flying Machine. Oh, and this is a Ray Bradbury story. See, they did so many Ray Bradbury adaptations of Ray Bradbury stories for both the science fiction and horror stories. He was a big influence at the time. He's one of my favorite authors. Another Wally Wood story. And Weird Science Fantasy number 2. And it's more of the same. Just great stories being told. I mean, the storytelling was wonderful, and they used the modern Al Feldstein cover again. If the modern type of storytelling, each one of these stories would be at least one complete issue, if not more. And some of these stories could well be worth having a longer version of storytelling, but for posterity. Wally Wood. The Teacher from Mars. Oh, this is from a story by Iando Binder. That's Edward and Otto Binder. And of course, Otto Binder is, of course, he was a big, as well as them being science fiction authors together, he was also big in writer in comics as well. The Pioneer. Some wonderful stuff. Oh, yeah. For madmen only. Rainbow. Okay. That was from the 1950s. And then here's one. This is I did an in-depth on this particular issue one time because of its different. This is a special issue of Weird Science Fantasy. As number 4 says, EC challenges the U.S. Air Force with this illustrated factual flying saucer report, and it was actual. Depicting the documented evidence, names, places, dates, quotes. Because this was indeed depicting some now classic UFO reports from the time period, and perhaps this issue was an influence on Gold Key for their UFO title. Is it Nash Fortenberry? Yeah, because instead of the regular stories, it's just like one or two pages mostly depicting the supposed events from the sightings. And then this one is a little different also because this is the only one that I've got that has a Frank Frazetta cover, Weird Science Fantasy number 7. And this is, of course, a very famous, one of several, very famous Frank Frazetta cover pieces. One of his drawings. But he did not do the interior art. I think there was... Did he do any interior art for... aside from his assistants, sometimes Al Williamson, which is this one here is Al Williamson, Vicious Circle. I don't know of any interior offhand. He may have, and I'm just not remembering it or don't know about it. Interior... there's an Adam Link. Another story from Ando Binder. But if any of you know off the top of your head, did Frazetta do any specific, interior art on? I'm sure he did some, but I know he did helping Al Williamson. He and Roy Krinkle also helped together. Often helped Al Williamson meet his deadlines because they played too much. Okay, so that is all I've got to share with you this time from some classic EC science fiction from Weird Science Fantasy and Weird Fantasy. Oh, and thank you so much for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave your comments down below. Which of these covers or which issue do you happen to like best? Let me know in those comments below. And remember, comics, come on, let's get it on there. We'll do it. Comics are art.